Hey guys, my name's Rob Asseltine, and I'm here to teach people how to ride a Sno-Go bike. Let's get started. To get started, let's cover the bike, how to set it up and all its features. Working our way from the top down, we have an adjustable stem to accommodate rider height. We have a leash required by all resorts. The chairlift hook for chairlift riding. The quick release system to enable easy and safe transportation of your Sno-Go. The slat linkage system, and your bindings with the appropriate boots to wear to enable fun and safe Sno-Go riding. Snowboard boots are strongly recommended to use with a Sno-Go bike. Sno-Go bindings are a simple step-in process. Simply point your toe down and slide your foot underneath the bridge. Most Sno-Gos will be set up to fit all snowboard boot sizes. However, for more comfort, if you have a large foot, you can adjust the binding using a 5mm Allen key and a 10mm wrench. A safety leash is required by all resorts. This helps prevent accidents. First, you'll take your belt, wrap it around your waist, and fasten with the clip. Tighten so it's appropriate to a comfortable level around your body. Next, take the carabiner from the leash, loosen it, fasten your leash to the clip on your belt, and secure the leash to your belt. You'll notice there's several key rings attached to the leash. These are designed in the event that if you have a large fall, at about 70 pounds of pressure, that single ring will break. This way you won't be tumbling with the bike. But if you have a small fall, it keeps the bike within the vicinity so that it doesn't run into other people on the slope. If you happen to break one of the key rings, be sure to clip to a new ring provided, and do not clip the leash to your carabiner so that it still has the ability to break away in a future incident. Sno-Gos are built to accommodate riders 5 foot to 6 foot 3 inches tall. To adjust the height, use the adjustable stem and a 5mm Allen key to adjust to the appropriate height. If you're quite tall, go ahead and start at the top, which would be all the way at 60 degrees, and work your way to a comfortable height. Likewise, if you're around 5 feet tall or taller, start from 0 and work your way up. To come to the appropriate height, what you'll want is to have a straight back, bent knees, with your shoulders over the handlebars on flat terrain. If this feels comfortable and you don't feel slouched, or you don't feel like you're pitched too far over your heels, you've set up the bike correctly. The Sno-Go chairlift hook is designed for easy and safe chairlift riding. It comes straight off the center of the frame. It may look like a seat. Sure, it's a nice seat when you want to take a break from riding down the hill. However, never ride a Sno-Go by sitting on a chairlift hook. Sno-Gos are intended to be stood on, and you will lose the ability to have the bike perform at its design capabilities while sitting down. Always stand with your feet in the bindings, and trust me, it's pretty hard to sit on this thing while you're riding anyway. Sno-Go comes with a 3-point quick release system. This system allows you to quickly take apart portions of the Sno-Go bike so that you could even fit it in the back of a sedan. The first is the front ski. You simply loosen this knob here, and you're able to pull off the front ski. Fasten by fully tightening the knob. The second quick release point is right here. You can see there's another knob secured by a quick release pin, which you can quickly remove to take off the rear chassis from the frame. Before riding, make sure that that is tightened so that you're ready to ride. The third and final quick release point is here on the rear of the frame, connecting what we call the slat. Here there is simply a pin that secures the bike to the chassis of the slat system. Make sure that is pushed all the way through and you're ready to ride. The final and most essential part of what makes a Sno-Go is the SLAT system. SLAT stands for Synchronized Lateral Articulation Technology. What this does is allows the bike to articulate and mimic the motions of skiing. Go through the process of leaning the bike to the left and leaning the bike to the right. There are various pivot points on the SLAT system connecting the chassis to the frame. As you familiarize yourself with the SLAT technology and lean the bike in both directions, you can also lift up on each foot. Practice lifting this up and being comfortable with each right and left foot. Another pivot point allows you to lift the front ski off the ground. Continue familiarizing yourself with each of these pivot points, and this will enable you to feel real confident as you lean into the bike and start your turns. One of the most important things we need to learn is how to park our Sno-Go safely. The first thing you'll do is unclasp your carabiner from your belt. Next, you'll back it up out of skier and foot traffic, and you want to lean the bike over onto its edges until those are engaged. At this point, it cannot slide down the hill, and it looks good. So, navigating flat terrain is a process much like riding a scooter. Simply step your foot into the binding on the downhill side of the bike, and you'll use your other foot to propel yourself forward. What we don't want to do is hop off our bike and walk next to it. When we do this, that takes up the space of two persons in the lift lines. So we want to be considerate of everybody else using the resorts and make sure that we play nice with all the lift operators. So straddle your bike and scoot it on into line. To start learning how to maneuver our bike going downhill, we'll first want to practice on flat terrain. To turn a Sno-Go, the process is actually very simple. You simply need to lean on your handlebars to initiate a turn. To turn to the right, lean to the right. To turn to the left, lean to the left. Practice this a bunch of times till you feel comfortable holding your body square over the bike, staying relaxed through your hips, your knees, and your ankles, and simply waiting on the front ski, leaning over from your left palm to your right palm. To get started, we're either going to ride the magic carpet at a resort or hike about 20 yards up a beginner slope, which is marked by the green circle on any trail map. We'll want to make sure that we go high enough just to get a little speed, but we certainly don't want to go all the way to the top or be riding a chairlift at this time. Now that we're at the top, what we're going to do is identify the fall line. And the fall line can be described as the path of least resistance down the slope. If you were to basically roll a ball without pushing it, which way would it go? So if there's a depression in the slope is going to have a fall line that trajects towards that depression. All right, so as we get started, first things, we're going to grab both handlebars, apply pressure to lean through your palm. As we mentioned, leaning is very important to turning. You don't want to be moving your hips around side to side. It's very important to keep your hips, your knees, and your ankles aligned. So to start, we're going to come off at a 45-degree angle. It looks like the fall line goes a little bit across the slope here. That way, when we're at this 45-degree angle, we're not really moving very fast just yet. At this point, we're going to begin to make what we call a half C turn. We'll point our bike 45 degrees across the hill, and as we go across the hill, we're going to lean, pressure into your inside palm, and that again is the basic way to turn the bike. Instead of turning the handlebars, we're just going to lean, okay? So I'm going to kick off here, put one foot down into the binding, downhill foot first, give a little push with my uphill foot, off we go with our first half C turn, stepping in, 45-degree angles to the hill, leaning on the inside handlebar, uphill, until we come to a complete stop. One thing to remember, if your hips sink below your heels or behind your heels, you're leaning too far back. So apply that pressure back to the palm and you'll feel your ski edges engage. So here we'll be 45 degrees to the fall line on this side. We'll just step out, flip our bike around, and we'll practice a half C turn going the other way. Same thing, step in with your downhill foot, 45 degrees, push off, pressing on your palm until you come to a complete stop. We'll do this multiple times until we feel that we have complete confidence with our edges engaging. This is crucial to then the next process where we will link a turn together. What we'll do is create what we call an inverted question mark in the slope. So we'll come straight, we'll start our first C turn, but then we'll commit to rolling over our edges and finishing the other direction. So to begin the inverted question mark, we're gonna start at the exact same 45-degree angle to manage our speed. It's more important now to commit to leaning on your front handlebars. This will apply more pressure as you transfer weight from your uphill ski edge to your downhill ski edge, converting your turn. Again, it's all about leaning and putting pressure into the palms on the handlebars and maintaining square hips, knees, and ankles. This one is all about commitment, and from here, we start progressing quite quickly. Uphill edge engage, and we roll and we lean into the other handlebar until we come to a complete stop. We'll do that again. Make sure that feels right. So we'll go partially down the hill on our 45-degree turn, leaning into that uphill edge, roll over our handlebar, pressing into that palm until we come to a complete stop. We'll want to practice that in both directions, and then we can start linking turns throughout the beginner slopes. So our inverted question marks look great. We're engaging our edges throughout the slope, and we're coming to a complete stop. Once we've managed this in both directions, it's time to link all the turns together and make some S turns. We'll choose a flatter part of the beginner terrain to start working on this, and we can take it all the way to the bottom once we've linked a couple together. There are some essential things you don't want to do while riding a Sno-Go. Let's cover these briefly. First, you'll never want to actually overturn your handlebars to initiate a turn. Unlike riding a bicycle, you're better off simply leaning onto the handlebar to initiate your turn. Essential don't number 2. As you're riding, make sure that your hips stay in front of your heels. If you sit your hips back behind your heels, it releases any weight off the front of the ski and makes it very difficult to maneuver the bike. So again, never put your hips below your heels until you've gained sufficient experience to make constant carves throughout an intermediate slope. Another essential thing you don't want to do is point your bike straight down the hill. When you point your bike straight down the hill as you learn, it can pick up speed very quickly. So always start at a 45-degree angle so that you're cutting across the slope at the beginning of a turn. The last and essential thing you don't want to do is remove your foot from the binding while in motion going downhill. If you pull your foot out from the binding, you have no ability to put pressure on your ski edge and stop. Okay, continue scootering through the lift line. Straddle your bike as you go through the lift ticket checkpoints here. Always keep one foot in the binding as you go through. You'll want to keep scootering all the way up to the loading sign before loading your bike onto the chairlift. It's important to remember to keep both feet firmly planted on the ground, hands controlling the handlebars. As the chairlift comes around from the back, you'll want to sit down on the chairlift first, pushing the bike away, and as the chairlift comes from behind, you'll then scoop the chairlift hook directly onto the seat of the chairlift. So here we go. We're gonna scoot our way up to the loading sign. Firmly plant our feet to the side. Keep the bike away from our body. When the chairlift approaches, sit down, keeping the bike forward, and raise your feet from under the chairlift seat. As you leave the loading platform, pull the handlebars towards your body and allow the chairlift to scoop under the Sno-Go chairlift hook. Okay, loading the lift complying to ANSI standards. You'll want to keep one foot in the binding as you load the lift. As we scooter forward, keep that one foot in your binding and prepare for the chairlift. Grab the chairlift hook with your opposite hand. As the chairlift comes around, you'll sit down first, keeping the bike forward and away from your body. While seated, quickly slide your foot out of the binding while simultaneously pulling the bike towards your body to allow the chair to scoop under the Sno-Go chairlift hook and between your legs. Once we're on the lift, we'll keep one hand on the handlebars while we lower our restraining bar. Reach up, and as you pull it down, make sure you turn the handlebar to clear the bike, and you're set. To unload off the chairlift, begin by raising the safety bar up. As you near the ramp, pull your handlebars towards your body to raise your front ski. Just moments before the bike hits the loading dock, give it a bump off of the chairlift. At this point, put one foot into the binding and push off with your other foot. As you slide down the ramp, you should be able to place your second foot into the other binding. Okay, now that we have loaded and unloaded the chairlift, let's remember a few key points. First, you want to maintain pressure in the palms of your hands. You want to keep your hips, knees, and ankles aligned. And throughout this process, we're going to continue to apply pressure onto all three ski edges. Now that we're linking multiple turns on beginner terrain, it's important to know how to manage our speed. The obvious way is to stop. And so far, we've learned how to stop by pointing our front ski back uphill at the bottom of the inverted question mark. The other way that we can control our speed while still continuing downhill is simply to widen our turns. So as we make our big S's, we can simply go further across the slope each time with our skis horizontal to that fall line and slow ourselves down before committing to the next turn. So in the next step, what we'll do is we'll learn how to stop with a little more aggressive manner. What you'll need to do is simply exaggerate everything you know so far. As you apply pressure throughout the three skis, you're simply going to add a little more to that outside downhill foot and slightly lift up on the inside. So if you're lifting this one off the snow, that's too far. But pressure that outside foot, keep weight on the front ski, and you'll feel it slide into more of a hockey stop. If you slide all the way around, you're leaning too far back. Keep, again, your hips pressed into the bike and push on that outside ski. Let's give it a shot. Cruising the green. As we come down, we'll apply pressure to that outside foot. Come to a complete stop. We'll want to practice that in both directions. Yeah. All right, that's the hockey stop. You guys are now ready to get up on the lift and shred some more terrain. It's now time to take on the intermediate slopes. This is marked by a blue square marker on any trail map. Basically, the goal here is to just stay in control. So keep our turns nice and wide and continue to maintain pressure on each of the three skis and leaning on the handlebars just like we did in Module 4. One of the greatest things about riding a Sno-Go is how quickly people reach this phase. This is exciting. We can go straight from linking turns on beginner slopes to learning how to carve. In this phase, we'll cover weight distribution, applying more pressure to the outside ski, and controlled stopping with speed. As we progress through the terrain, we're going to simply need to exaggerate some of those motions where we push slightly more into our downhill ski edge and lift up with our inside foot. You want to lift up just enough so that you're kind of feathering the snow. If you lift up too high, we lose that edge and lose control. So you just want to feel a little pressure of that binding touching your boot, and that's just enough to lift up with the inside edge. That helps us transition that weight to the outside foot. As you do this, keep in mind, applying pressure through the palm of your hands is still the most important. If we keep pressure on this front ski and we change the weight distribution in the back, we'll be able to hold a nice edge and keep carving our turns. The slat technology really enables this to happen. As we lean, you can see that it keeps our skis parallel. This enables us to go right from turns on beginner slopes to carving turns on intermediate slopes. It's really fun. Let's get going. It's now time to learn some advanced edging techniques. The first one we'll do is scrubbing speed. The reason you want to scrub speed is so that you can maintain the line that you've chosen down the mountain while dumping some speed without coming to a full stop. To do this, simply use the same process as leaning to turn and don't make a full turn. So what you want to do to practice and get started, we'll maintain pressure on our palms, roll our hips over, slide down the slope. You want to feel that sensation across all 3 skis and then bite your uphill edge back in to stop. In this process, we'll only make partial turns. So what we'll end up doing is several Z's across the slope. Check this out. Down the slope, let it slide. Back down the slope, let it slide. Back down the slope, slide. So you can see how I'm managing my speed without making a full turn. Okay, so after we've scrubbed our speed and made several Z's going one way across the slope, we'll practice it in the other direction. Once we have it both ways, we'll connect it with some turns and completely randomize it so we're comfortable at any point in the terrain to use scrubbing our speed. And then over here on the left, you know what? I'm not gonna go all the way. Let's scrub it, make a full turn. Scrub it, make a full turn. And there you go. And what's really fun, when you scrub your speed, naturally, you'll counter steer a little. It's kind of like driving a race car. Good times. In this module, we'll cover bumps and moguls, obstacles and hazards, and steeper terrain. Remember in the beginning when we talked about the various pivot points of slat? This is where we can really use these to our advantage when navigating various ungroomed obstacles on the slope. Let's start with the first one. When coming up to an obstacle that might be a bump, you can simply lift up on your handlebars. This will help raise your ski several inches off the snow to help it clear that obstacle. Bumps and moguls. What you'll find is that approaching the bump or mogul straight on is going to be the easiest. So let's go with the approach of going over the bump or mogul with our front ski straight. And then what we'll do is we'll start a turn right on the top so that on the back side of the mogul, we're controlling our speed. If you feel like at any point you're about to catch some air on the mogul, it's helpful to press inward with your feet. It's kind of like as if you're riding a horse. You kind of have to pinch down low, and that will help maintain your foot within the binding. Again, one of those essential don'ts is having your foot come out. So let's keep our feet in the binding even when we catch a little air. A great way to practice is simply to do some bunny hops and see if you can keep your feet right in the bindings. So that's clearing any other obstacle. And the next one is going over steep terrain. That should be pretty intuitive. Going over steep terrain, you simply want to exaggerate all the motions we've learned so far. Lean further to engage more of your edge and stay in control. Let's go have some fun. And we're linking carves, turning on the backside of steep terrain, and buzzing the cameraman.